Good morning, family. This is Aunt Beth. Welcome to my lamppost. So, today we are in Psalm 65, and I was reading through this, and I thought of a story I haven't thought of in a long time. So, let me tell you. Years ago, when I was going to a different church, had several girlfriends, haven't seen them in many years, and we were standing near the front of the church, which had a platform that was about up to here. So it was at about 3.5 feet tall. So, not quite my shoulder, but quite a drop. And I was watching the platform while I was talking to my girlfriend, and her son started running right off and just launched himself into my arms. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if I didn't see him? What if I didn't catch him? And her girlfriend said, oh, he knew, he had confidence in you. He trusts you. Wow. But I'm thinking, he could have sailed right past me and hurt himself pretty badly, So I still freak out when I think about that. But that image hadn't come to mind in a long time until I read verse 5, the last part of it. I was talking about God. You who are the confidence of all the ends of the earth. I'm thinking, wow, do I have that kind of confidence that the Lord has got his eye on me and I can just launch myself, into his arms? And I looked up the Hebrew for confidence. It's mebtak. I don't know if I'm saying that right. A refuge, security, assurance, and trust. And I started thinking, am I trusting in myself? In my position in society? In my stuff? Or has that all been stripped away and I'm trusting in the Lord? There's a law of first use in Scripture. And first use is actually in Job, where one of Job's friends was commenting that those without God, trust is a spider's web. Wow. Confidence, trust. It's not going to hold up. And I'm thinking, wow. The other part that really registered with me is verse 4, the last half. And I'll put the psalm down below, where you click on the word more. It says, we shall be satisfied with the goodness of your house. And I'm thinking, does his goodness satisfy me? Do I always want more? Like a vitamin supplement. I want to do Rambo and power through, It's funny because the day that I was, I'd spend each week in each psalm. So you all are about 3 weeks behind me, or I'm about 3 weeks behind in posting this. But I was in Proverbs 27 that day and thinking about being satisfied. Hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. Same word, meaning we're always consuming stuff, supplements. The rest of the psalm is sort of pastoral, and just so abundance, of fields and sheep and, quiet abundance. I'm starting to wonder if God's a farmer and he hands us our life in seed form, and it's up to us to build and shape it, obviously with his guidance. But I don't want to waste my life being satisfied with small things. God's not like a department store we can go in and get the final product. He's much more interested in us in the process, of growing, back to the thought of God as a farmer, seed form. Our life is in seed form. But it's also, when I read all the quiet abundance of the chapter, the psalm, visiting the earth and watering it and enriching it and providing grain. That's not an instant thing. And I think of the quiet abundance versus the sort of the flashing lights of Las Vegas. You can get all your riches here now. Quick, quick, quick. Sometimes I think the world, the material system, is sort of like a used car salesman in a flashy coat. Selling short-term dreams. And how do you compete against that with, that visual distraction, with the quiet abundance, is that a word, of the Lord? Country mouse, city mouse. Anyway, just my thoughts on being satisfied with the Lord. And that's, I think, a challenge for all of us. So, have a fabulous day. All God's best.